It began on a cold winter night in Jerusalem. A storm raged outside the ancient stone walls as two men, strangers to each other, found shelter in the same synagogue. One, David, a proud Ashkenazi scholar from Poland. The other, Eliyahu, a Sephardic merchant from Morocco. Both men claimed to hold the true tradition of their people. And yet, as lightning flashed across the sky, their heated argument would uncover something far deeper than heritage. It would touch the very soul of what it means to be a Jew. Inside the flickering candlelight, the argument grew louder. Eliyahu's voice carried the warmth of the desert. Greater than our songs, our food, our prayers, they are the same as those sung in the time of Solomon. You Ashkenazim changed everything. David adjusted his spectacles, his tone sharp but sorrowful. Greater than changed. No, my brother, preserved. We survived pogroms, exiles, and the Holocaust. You don't know what it cost us to keep the Torah alive. The rabbi, an old man seated silently in the corner, watched them both. He knew this was not just an argument of customs, it was a centuries-old wound, reopened. To understand their fight, we must travel back in time. Centuries ago, when the Romans destroyed Jerusalem, the Jewish people scattered across the world. Some journeyed west to Spain and North Africa, they became the Sephardim. Others moved north into Europe, they became the Ashkenazim. In Spain, Sephardic Jews flourished, poets, philosophers, scientists. They lived alongside Muslims and Christians, trading ideas and art. But when the Spanish Inquisition came in 1492, they were driven out, tortured, forced to convert, or killed. They carried their language, Ladino, and their songs to the Ottoman Empire, to Morocco, to Greece. Meanwhile, the Ashkenazim in Europe faced endless persecution, ghettos, crusades, massacres. But out of the darkness rose brilliance. The Talmudic academies of Poland, the mysticism of Kabbalah in Safed, the melodies of Eastern Europe that cried and danced at the same time. Both suffered, both survived, both believed they carried the pure flame of Judaism. But whose fire burned truest? Back in Jerusalem, the storm continued. Eliyahu and David sat across from each other, exhausted. The rabbi finally spoke. Greater than, you both claim to be the real Jew, he said softly. But what does that mean? David frowned. Greater than, we study, we keep the law as our fathers did. Eliyahu replied. Greater than, we remember our ancestors' songs, our spices, our warmth. We have never forgotten who we are. The rabbi smiled. Greater than, then perhaps both of you are right, and both of you are wrong. Later that night, unable to sleep, David found himself walking through the ancient alleys of the old city. He passed by the western wall, its stones glistening with rain. There, he saw something unexpected, Eliyahu, praying. He hesitated, then joined him. For a moment, the wind carried the sound of two voices. One chanting in the Ashkenazi style, crisp and rhythmic. The other, flowing and melodic, in the Sephardic tone. The melodies were different, yet somehow, they harmonized. People passing by stopped, some wept. In that moment, the centuries of exile, division, and misunderstanding dissolved into a single truth: one people, one faith, one song. The next morning, the rabbi gathered them again. He told them a story, one that few knew. Greater than, long ago, he began, the prophet Jeremiah spoke of the Jews scattered to every corner of the earth. He said one day, they would return, not as tribes divided, but as a family reunited. He looked at David and Eliyahu. Greater than, you are the two halves of that promise. The mind and the heart. The law and the spirit. You need each other to be whole. Both men were silent. Tears formed in David's eyes. Eliyahu placed his hand on his shoulder. Years later, the two men became close friends. They built a small school in Jerusalem, where Sephardic and Ashkenazi children learned together. On Fridays, the aroma of Moroccan couscous mixed with Polish challah. Songs in Ladino blended with Yiddish melodies. And every child grew up knowing, not who was real, but that all were one. Closing scene, emotional ending. Now, if you walk through Jerusalem today, you might still hear two old men arguing in a courtyard. David, with his European accent, still insists his way is more traditional. Eliyahu laughs, waving his hands, claiming, no, mine is closer to King Solomon. But then they smile, clasp hands, and sing together. Their voices rising above the city that once divided them, now binding them. Because in the end, it was never about who was real. It was about remembering that faith, love, and survival are what make them one people. Moral message for ending voiceover. Greater than, the real Jew is not defined by accent, food, or melody, but by the flame that never went out, no matter how far it was carried. Sephardic or Ashkenazi, both are threads in the same divine tapestry of survival, memory, and hope.